right into, after our public safety and courts committee meeting, we'll move right into the finance and administrative meeting with a little bit of a break so the clerk can kind of get her stuff on. So, okay, call to the public. Wait, anyone who would like to speak?
Is Chairman Webster excused?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman Webster is excused? Okay. Very good. Anyone like to speak at this time? If not, we'll move right into the agenda items. I need a motion to approve purchase of a new K-9 for the Sheriff's Department and associated equipment and training from the Homeland Security Grant, an amount not to exceed $16,124.
So.
Is there a second? I'll second the motion. I don't too. Okay, Jeff, you're up.
Okay, this is a
Discussion.
proposal to purchase Sheriff's Office K-9 and related training equipment. This includes training for the K-9 handler and the K-9 itself through the K-9 Academy Train Facility, a ProTech bullet-resistant vest for the dog, a micro tracker GPS system, bite suit, bite sleeve, bungee tie-out, and harness for $16,123.98. 100% funded with Homeland Security grant funds.
I will note that we currently have one, and that's Nero, and Nero is retiring, so this will replace Nero.
What kind of dog is it?
I really don't know.
Oh, you haven't got it yet?
I believe German Shepherd.
Oh.
You reserve the spot with the training facility. After this approved, they'll reserve the spot, pick a dog.
Oh.
But I believe that they were going to get a German Shepherd.
Okay.
Real good.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I'm listening for a third voice.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
he also has an additional item if the committee would be inclined
Sure.
to take it up.
Yes.
I'd also like to make a proposal. In previous Board of Commissioners meetings, it was approved for a upfitting charge for the new emergency management vehicle. And the charge at that time was quoted at around $10,000. I received the actual invoice from the upfitter, and it came in substantially higher at $19,000. And this is due to various things. It's a new vehicle, separate from the Explorer, so they cannot use any other equipment from my old vehicle. It also includes a command system that you pull a drawer out and you can set up an incident command system. So for various reasons, the quote was much higher than originally thought of. So I'm requesting additional funding for that upcharge.
Okay. And we have it in the budget, I mean, literally.
This is,
It'll be over unless he has other funds from different grants to spend on it.
and just as a side note, we did receive supplemental funding for my salary from the state in the amount of $7,800 for the 21 budget. Which was not anticipated. That came in about 3 weeks ago from the state. Also, as I was going through my past purchases through 1033 surplus, there was I sold $1,500 worth of equipment that I didn't account for either, and I discussed with Dr. Boggs the potential use of LAPC funding for this purchase. Because I respond to hazardous material calls as well. So that'd be an additional funding source.
So realistically, within your budget and what you've taken in and what we can use with funds, that is appropriate.
Yes.
The general fund subsidizes a large part of emergency management.
Right.
And whether it comes out of those funds or we subsidize it through further funds from the general fund, either way, that's up to the Board of Commissioners.
It's just under an additional 10,000.
Correct.
So it isn't like this happens all the time. We budgeted, we thought we were gonna be able to do it, and it just came in more because of the economy or whatever.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's not malfeasance or anything, I don't mind.
No, it's certainly not that, but I have looked at this in the budget, Jeff, and I'm a little concerned about the revenues and the expenditures. I mean, it's definitely over, and I mean, it will, from my understanding, have to come from the general fund. So, I'm not completely sold on that.
Gotcha. One of the reasons for the upfitting charges too is I like to do things the right way. The current vehicle I have is a civilian model, and outfitting that thing with lights was expensive because it was a civilian model. So that's why this is a little bit more expensive. I want to do it the right way, have the equipment that we need, instead of retrofitting something that is lower priced in the beginning.
I entertain a motion that we would fund the additional funds for this activity.
Mr. Chair, I will.
Okay. Motion reads that we will fund the extra monies for the upgrade to, what vehicle is it?
It will be a Ford F-150.
Yeah, the Ford F-150 truck for the Homeland Security.
Correct.
And an amount not to exceed, what's the difference?
The difference was I believe, $9,200.
Okay, not to exceed $9,200. Okay. I'll second the motion. Again, any discussion?
Does that move on for tomorrow?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Yes, we will. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. With that, we have one more call to the public. Do we have anybody that wishes to speak at this time? If not, meeting adjourned. We'll give a quick couple minutes to get her set, and then we'll move right into finance and administration. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Again, we have a call to the public. Would we like to speak at this time? If you do, we want you to fill out a slip by the end of the counter over there. If not, we'll move right into treasurer. Treasurer, what do we got for us today?
Good evening. Just, I guess, brief update on what's happening in the office. December 1st, winter tax collection started, so it's just another new season with that. Dog licenses also started on sale December 1st. People can get those through their vets, their township, the city, but as well as our office. So those keep us pretty busy through the season. Another note, I just want to say, we've had really good progress working with Capital Area Community Services. Received a few nice payments this week, are expecting some more, helping those with really struggling with their taxes. So I'm just really excited about it. Yesterday was a really good Monday morning. So if you talk to any constituents or anybody that really needs help and they're struggling, there is help there. There's new programs with these COVID funds. Please have them contact our office. Happy to work with them, guide them, hook them up with Capital Area Community Services, and see what we can do. But it's very promising and encouraging at this time.
Great. Any questions for Jewel at this time?
Just one, so are they, when they're paying these taxes, are they paying like, if they're 3 years behind, the last year back, or how are they doing that?
Different programs work in different ways. So some will go back and hit the oldest. Some right now are just covering COVID, so maybe 2020 tax year and part of 19. So we're having to, but like these I got this week, covered 20s and part of 19, and then it just is leaving a little balance, but then they've got another program that they can take care of that balance. So it's working out to be kind of a combination of things that is helping these people, and it's huge. It just takes such a burden off their shoulders. It's really special. It's really a good thing. So it is there, and if you talk to anybody that needs help, please just direct them my way, and the sooner the better, so they aren't waiting until that last minute too, that, sometimes that happens.
Do
Gary?
you have to show financial
Oh, yeah, but they,
papers?
well, I really don't work a lot with them on that end. I'll connect them with Capillary Community Services. They set up a meeting and they go over all of that. And they have their different criteria for
Okay.
different programs. So they look at a lot of different things, whether they've been unemployed due to COVID. A lot of people that are surviving just on Social Security benefits and whatnot, and they really handle all of that.
Okay, thanks.
But I really try to keep, I make a lot of phone calls and keep in contact with people and make sure if they haven't followed up with what they were supposed to do with Jim maybe at Capital Area, it's like, you know, let's get you hooked back up because we don't want you to fall through the cracks or, you know, so, good teamwork going on and it's just really pleasing.
Well, thanks, Julie.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Anyone else would like to discuss anything? No? Okay, thank you, Julie.
Sure.
I'm gonna talk about one thing before we get into the agenda. I attended the road commission this morning at 7:30, and it's kind of interesting, with some of the numbers they were explaining. For next year in '22, federal money coming for roads is 2.4 million. I think they said that was up from 2.1 million. The road commission will be investing in roads 2.2 million, and townships will be investing 2.5 million, and that's up over last year. Last year they did everything except about $900,000 to $1 million worth, and their budget was behind for 21, about 900,000. That was due for the less money coming in for road monies through MDOT. But what was really interesting to me is that 10 years ago, all three of those budgets combined was 2.4 million. That was again the federal road commission and township spent about 2.4 million dollars 10 years ago, and for next year they're spending 7.1 million. So the road taxes that have increased over the last 7 years, has really added an awful lot of funds to local jurisdictions like counties, cities, and villages for road upkeep. So that's really good. Also keep in mind that pricing for blacktop, chip seal, all those activities has remained relatively steady over the last 3 or 4 years. So this would, even if it's expensive to do, there's more money to do stuff with. And they expect to complete everything they have planned next year. And that's quite a bit of chip sealing and new blacktop with all those entities. So just thought I'd throw that out there for informational. So they're on their track to do that for next year. Okay, now let's move into our agenda items. I need a motion to approve the resolution approving comprehensive financial plan and to publish the notice of intent to issue bonds.
I'll make the motion.
Support.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion.
So this is the beginning of the process that we discussed last meeting or before, when we had our financial advisors here, Andy Campbell, and our financial bond counsel, Eric McLaughlin. This is the first step. It'll be a resolution of intent to sell. You'll have a public hearing on Thursday to see if there's any public comments, and we will then begin a period of waiting and compiling documents until the middle of February. And then at that point, if the board so chooses, then you will make your final decision about the bonding process. But this is the notice of intent that allows us to get all the paperwork ready with the state, and then you will make your final decision then.
Very good. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
If you do have other questions, Andrew will be here on Thursday.
Very good. Okay. Need a motion to authorize the 2021 end-of-year budget adjustments as presented and authorize the county administrator to make any needed additional end-of-year budget adjustments to close out the 2021 budget.
Support.
Motion and support. Discussion.
This is what you did last year. Most of them have already been prepared and are there. Tracy and Lacey worked on balancing them out. If for some event something happens between now and the end of the year, you're giving me the authority to adjust it, and I will present it to you in January, the changes that we made.
Very good. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Need a motion to approve the 2022 budget resolution and adopt the 2022 budget as presented.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and a support. Discussion?
I'm just gonna hit a couple of fine points, I'll do more detail on Thursday, but the general fund budget is balanced to zero at $19.8 million. We are slightly revenue over expenditures for the overall $76 million budget, but that is not because of the work of the county and our special revenue funds. A medical care facility is spending some of their fund reserve, so that does not have an impact on county operations. So we're still to the good overall of, when you take out road commission, the airport, medical care facility, $800 and some thousand.
Very good.
I did have one, question, and it's not a trick question. So for the budget, when we take employee salaries and benefits, what is that number?
Oh, the proportion? It is the majority of the budget is employee salary and benefits.
So about 19 million.
Oh, out of 19 million, I would say it's probably 90% of the budget.
It is 19 million.
Oh, 19 million.
That's
Yeah.
the
Page
answer.
7.
Page
So page
Oh.
7 of your budget has the breakdown for salaries and benefits.
Yeah.
So out of $19.8 million, it's 19 million. The county is mostly people.
People services.
And I believe that is the first time that our employee cost has exceeded the amount we bring in of tax revenue.
That is correct.
Wow.
Won't be the last.
No. And also keep in mind that we're a lot smaller county, for county operations that we are in charge of and do every day. The people that worked here, like in 6-7, we might have been close to 300, and now we're what, 205? I mean, that's quite a reduction over the last 15 years.
Well, and this is why you have the ARPA money and the revenue replacement funds, because the court revenue is down substantially. And usually the court revenue fills in some of that gap, so it's not so much of a disparity, but it wasn't last year, and I don't predict that it will be this up and coming year either. If it is, that's great, but,
We can hope. Yeah.
I mean, when I say down, it's way down.
And I think that's important for that to be noted.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, motion carries. Item D, need a motion to accept the county clerk's end of year report and place it on file.
Mr. Chair, make that motion.
Support.
Motion and support. Clerk, would you like to comment?
So first I want to apologize because it's so late in coming. My intention was to have it February, March, and because in the past, in looking at history of what was provided to the commissioners, it was a cumulative amount of money, and it was just very broad over the functions of the office. So before, when I was fighting so hard to get additional staff, I wanted to show you that every piece of document from a actual first filing of a piece of paper in the vital side, that there is also additional for original and copies, and I wanted to show you those numbers, and discovering that we had a glitch in our system and how it was tracking those numbers, and then giving me bogus dollar amounts. So I couldn't come to you with an inflated looking report. So that's why I finally, they're 3 hours difference, so there were many nights that I stayed to connect with them and work through getting accurate numbers. So the overall first page is basically the vitals. Morgan, my packet gives you the different court revenues for the 4 years. There's a sheet in there that in your finance packet that has the breakdown it looks something like that for your 2020 year as far as what the court side generated. But I did want to point out that the elections in 2020, that we had 3. And so we did not have a May election, but we spent $4,800 because it was canceled by the state due to COVID. And so we got some reimbursement, but the March 10th election, we were reimbursed 100% at $45,000. And then in August, the overall election ran 38,000. We were reimbursed 23,000 from the different entities. And then in November 3rd, the total cost for the general election was over $58,000, and we were reimbursed about $37,000. So that's included in your packet.
Okay.
But I wanted to do a first term 2017 to 2020 synopsis for you to see kind of the numbers. And that report that you guys have in your packet does show the applications and that the filings and or the additional copies and things like that, so you could see those numbers. I wanted you to see how many documents we touch, because every document we touch on both sides, we have to certify or we have to do something with it. But everyone's thrilled to be with the additional staff, and training's going along well, and we can't thank you enough. And 2021 has been exceptionally busy in the last few months, and in the month of October, we had 91 deaths in our county alone. That's what's up, are the deaths, and mostly COVID.
Okay.
So just one question, so this is 2020, so would we then, like you said, maybe in February or March, get a 2021?
Yes.
Okay.
It will be much more timely.
Okay. Well, clearly we didn't miss it, so.
I've been diligently working on it, trying to get, there's a lot that goes behind it in the systems. So
I
thanks.
missed it, it's been keeping me up nights.
Oh,
Thank
yes.
you for that hard work, Carolyn.
Yeah.
Very much appreciated.
Also, too, I'd like to comment, with the COVID things, the steps of our staff and the clerks and treasurers, all staffs of all departments, especially vital records and treasurer. A lot of times, people couldn't come in the courthouse when COVID was going on, we'd have to go down, not we. Those staffs of those offices, the clerk, treasurer, all, they'd have to go out and conduct business outside. And you think about that, man. The many, many steps, I mean, you got in really good shape. Yeah, and I have to, and gosh, I don't really want to see that again this winter, But
We still do it. We do still have people that do not want to come into the court.
Right.
We do anything we can to accommodate providing their records in every capacity.
So,
Well, John, I think what's important to note about that is that we have our treasurer and our clerk here that did that work, and that when we say the staff received an extra $1.3 million
yes.
over the course of that year, where our elected officials received zero. So I just want to point that out, and thank you, Julie, thank you, Caroline, for being here and doing the work with no additional $1.3 million compensation.
Well, there were times we were in there with no people.
Yes, I mean, that's why I'm pointing
No
that out.
staff. So
That's exactly why I'm pointing that out.
Yes.
it was interesting for sure.
So anyway, thank you for the
Thank
report, and so on and so forth. Any other discussion for the clerk at this time? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Let's move on to item E. Need a motion to approve the annual renewal with Zach's Archive, ZIX, in an amount not to succeed $8,910.50.
Exceed.
Okay.
Exceed.
Not succeed.
I will make the motion.
Support.
There's a motion and a second. Brian would.
This is just annual, every time you send an email and receive an email, that little information that you see, this is what screens all of our emails, encrypts them, and protects us from getting viruses and such, and also interacts with exterior county emails that are coming in to us. It's budgeted, it's our annual renewal of it.
Very good. Okay. All right, any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. On item F, I move to approve the proposal from Brandrow Enterprise in an amount not to exceed $41,750 for site survey of the historical courthouse.
I will make the motion.
Support.
There's a motion and a second, discussion.
So just by way of introduction to Greg Whitemer and Ron Colvin, you had heard several times over the course of the last several months about issues with the historic courthouse, including heating, cooling, maintenance, cracking, peeling, etc. And so as part of this, they showed up through Tim, and we had some discussions related to what it would take to renovate part of the courthouse. And there are several grants available and energy efficiency things from consumers that we may look to do, but to start the process, we have to engage them on a complete and total survey of the building. So with that, I will turn it over to Greg.
Thank you, Dr. Boggs. And also, Tim, couldn't have got this far without me. All right, the man knows the facilities, he knows the goods and the bads, and there's some of each. Okay, that's not all bad. He's been very helpful, and Dr. Boggs has been very good about leading us along the way and making sure we got it right. Okay, we got about 40 minutes of stuff. Is that too long?
Yes.
You see that? It's down to 2 seconds. You know. Yeah.
No, we'll be here 10 minutes, all right? We'll be out of your hair. But there's not anything we're going to say that needs PowerPoints and graphs and all that kind of thing. When we come back, if you decide to do this, that's going to be a different story. Okay, but what's happened up to this point in time? Brandrow, along with Matrix Engineering, who's our engineering group, we have been through the courthouse, okay? Not to the extent of just saying, well, you need this, you need that, just what you have, okay? And what you have is old, all right? Ta-da, we all know that, okay? So we're tasked with finding a way, short of ripping the roof off of a historical building, which I don't think is gonna happen, to put in a mechanical system, which is the heating and cooling, temperature controls, to look at your electrical system, because before, most heating was natural gas based, okay? That's what you use. Now there are options where we don't need natural gas, and also we can address the air conditioning at the same time and give you much better zoning than you have now, which means the delivery side of the tempered air, all right? We're also gonna look at structural. We have 2 courthouses, Ingham and Clinton, that we have done this with, all right? And we will be looking at options for the courthouse. And also security for the courthouse in the entire county will be part of this, okay? The options could be variable flow refrigerant. They could be natural gas boilers that provide refrigeration. They can be different control systems. They can be different lighting systems. But it's not going to be a short-term fix. Once we walk out of there, you're going to have a system for the next 20, 25 years. Part of that, one of our goals is to address operational costs. Can we make it cost less than it does now to operate your system? Okay, there's better equipment, it's more efficient. And then based on that, what rebates from consumers can we provide for you? All right, we are experts on consumers' rebates. We are one of their trade allies, and I think this year we're going to be trade ally of the year in the industrial area, because we do a lot of that kind of work as well. But we're clicked into that. We'll tell you how much you're going to save operationally. I know Tim's got some boilers that are not in the best shape, all right? He's got some AC that's not in the best shape, all right? And the delivery system is not in the best shape. I'm sorry to say that, but it's true. So if we can provide a more efficient system, how much it will save you? Okay, how long the length of life will be, and we're also going to bring in operational costs. In other words, I know nobody does this, but it's a good idea. Length of life is 25, 30 years on the system. All right, you've done better than that, but you should be setting aside X number of dollars every year for the eventual replacement of that system. Okay, I know nobody does that, but we're going to bring in those kind of facts and figures to you. Everything's going to be light of day. You don't go behind people's backs, we don't do nonsense like that. And Ron will hand out some proposals here that will outline what we're doing. You have any questions?
Do you mind touching on the historical?
Yes. Well, what we want to do, there's a separate set of rules for historical buildings. There just are. We will be bringing in a historical architect. All right, we've done a couple jobs with them, and those people, that's all they do, is historical buildings. So, can I tell you exactly what they're gonna do? Absolutely not. But can they tell you? Yeah. Okay, let me tell you, these guys aren't gonna be, they are expensive. But having said that, that's the way we're gonna handle it.
So by the time we're done with this particular project, hopefully we'll be able to look at the mechanical, the electrical.
Okay, we're just.
And then repair the historical elements that are, you know, effective at the moment.
That's alright.
Thank you.
All those, when we're done looking at it, we will provide you with a complete report, then the graphs, then the PowerPoints. All right, you come to play. It's better to show somebody a picture than to try to talk about it all day long. And it will give you options on each. The options will come with pricing. They will come with savings. They will come with the rebates will be. So you can look at that. It is the only way we can start right. We can, from what we've got now, yeah, I've been doing this for a while. All right, I've got ideas. But you know what? That's just my ideas. What we want to do is bring in the engineering firms, the architectural firms, and have them listen to your thoughts. Tim, Dr. Boggs, all right, you're going to be involved. Not over with, Tim. It's still going to keep going. But, and then bring that report back to you. So, and then the whole place, Ron is a security expert, and I mean expert. He handled all Dow Chemical's global security needs for 10 years. You ain't going to find anybody better than this dude. All right, so if you feel comfortable with this, do you have any questions?
But also, Judge Stewart was part of the early discussion on this, especially related to the historical nature of the building.
Timeline?
If you approve this tonight or whenever you do, we'll be hearing about, well, next week.
Yeah, I left the day open for a couple of my security guys to come through for next Tuesday, if that's not too early to get started. And we'll need to talk to and interview like the judges and talk to some key personnel like
Treasurer.
Yeah, just to get an idea, because I know you probably haven't thought a lot about security for the judges. I'm not sure how you have them set up now for security, safety, but we'll talk to them about that and see what we can do to improve that. Just in case you did have an active shooter or somebody somehow get into the courthouse, we can get him away from harm's way and get him protected. We do all of Saginaw County's, we do the Saginaw County Courthouse for all their security cameras, access control, and emergency alarms, things like that. So I know it's a miniature Saginaw County Courthouse, so we have hundreds of cameras and door access alarms there. So, but we'll talk to people and get it right and give our recommendations.
As far as the rest, we'll take about 4 weeks. And that's pushing it, quite honestly, but we don't do a tremendous amount of jobs. We don't do 100 a year. We don't do that. We do 6, 8, 10, all right, a year. We currently have a very large project with an industrial facility. That's been going on for a year, all right? But we have things all across the board. We're comfortable with it. We know we can do you a good job because we don't extend our capabilities. That's what they are, okay? We do not advertise. You won't see Brandero, in the paper. But what you will do is receive a nice list of references from people just like you, and that's how we roll. That's what we do. We're a reference-based company. So, any questions?
I will add that I did call one of the references. Except for Greg, he supported all of them.
I just don't think people like it.
I'm starting to think
You cost us money.
Yeah, I think Mom was
Why should you
right.
say-
She had to buy me friends, I don't get it. But, yeah, that's how we roll. That's what we do.
Okay, do we have any other questions? at
Just
this time?
one. So the detailed service list on this last page.
Yes, ma'am.
So it says what's included, so the study, the mechanical study, the electrical, so those are a study. What's not included then is the design?
Yes, because we can't include the design because we don't know what we're designing.
Okay.
All right, to this point. Now, the design part of it will be, all right, it'll be long. I'm sorry, it just has to be that way. But from that, you will come with stamped drawings. You will have the ability, we are a general contractor firm. We can act as a GC. We will act as a CM because that's what a GC does. All right, and then we can put it out to bid and we'll discuss the proper people because price, within 5% you get what you pay for. My grandfather told me that my whole life. And I believe it. So we'll weed out the 25% less than everybody else. And if they really are that, if they're that good, we're gonna bond them and they're gonna produce. Because if they're not, we'll jump on them. Because I don't like people that low price you and then you get what you paid for. We're not doing that. Been down that road too many times.
So that they will serve in the same capacity as the group that's doing the jail roof does, where they are controlling the bids, going over all that information and doing the bid letting and evaluating.
So there's no structure, it says structural study or design, so that is not included.
Well, from the architectural, what you'll get is why the paint's flaking and is behind that, is that, something you should replace or not? Because, when you start getting into structural, we're also doing a civil, I forgot to mention that, excuse me, on that as well. So when we get in there, you have to start someplace, and what you don't want to do is tear out walls and move things and then find out, oh shoot, okay, that's the worst feeling in the world, just like air going out of the room. So what we're gonna do this first is make sure the air stays in the room and we give you real information. And we will identify things like this part needs to be replaced or something like that. But as you go forward, we will dig into that part.
Okay.
I have one more question.
Yes, sir.
if I may. As this proposal and so on, we agree that you'll be our general contractor on anything we do based on the proposal. Now, normally when we bid things out ourselves, we tend to get several bids and so on. Now, when you hire contractors, what is your general bid process? I don't want to.
No, I understand.
Yeah, this will be great, but we don't know which contractor you're hiring, whether they're, most expensive out there.
Sure.
And we're committing ourselves to that without really knowing these things.
We will not hire any contractor without your approval, first and foremost, all right? It's our responsibility to vet the bids and dig into them, all right? And if I see one bid as per plans and specs, gone, okay? They're gonna have to provide a complete scope of work. They're gonna provide timelines. They're gonna provide pay structure, all of that thing. And then we will manage it as a general contractor, but we will not sign checks or anything like that unless you've been explained what's going on.
So we'll still be involved in all the.
Oh, yes,
all
sir.
of that.
You might get sick of this, actually. Okay.
Yes.
Question, sorry.
Yeah.
So kind of to go off of Greg's question, when we talk about the scope of the project, what are we thinking? Are we thinking a $2 million project? Are we thinking?
I don't know if we can answer that yet.
No.
Can't. We really can't. Some of the good things. Your lighting's, Tim has done wonders, okay, with a historical building, okay? We can lower your lighting costs, we can do all those kind of things, but it's gonna cost to do all that, it's not for free. So what we will do, after we come back with this, okay, you will have a number, budget number, not gonna be to the dollar, but it'll be pretty darn close. And then you can make a choice. You can say, hey, I don't have that much money, or I have that much money. We provide funding at a very, very reasonable rate. We make no money off of it. We did it with Gladwin County, where their monthly payment was less than their savings. All right, they were pretty happy crew. All right, so we can look at all that kind of thing. But understand, we don't know quite yet. There's no cost per square foot. I can do one of these numbers on something like that. You just can't. You have to do this first, and then you've got, not this, you've got an engineering response based on different options. And one option is less than the other one, but it doesn't work as well, then that's your choice. All right, do you want to use the 10% less, or do you want to put the 100% in, it's going to last you forever? Kind of up to you. Tim, you got something to say?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that you guys know that one of the reasons they're here is because the boilers at the courthouse are not in good shape, especially one of them. And sooner or later, which is sooner, we're gonna be replacing them. And we're gonna have to,
By not in good shape, you mean it's rusting out?
it's rusting out, and we're gonna.
Heat exchanger, the pot, they're all gone?
Yes, they're
Okay.
gone. And sooner or later, we're gonna have to replace the 2 boilers that are down there. And sooner than later, and that's why it just happened. I don't even know how they showed up. About the same time I was looking for somebody to do
This study.
this. They just,
I do that.
they just showed up, and so I took them over there and I showed them. I said, "What can you do?" And they said, "Well, let's see what we can do." And there is other systems out there now, like they're saying, that might be better than the boilers, and that's why they're here.
Yeah, I'd like to comment. I was here when the courthouse was renovated, in, it was 88.
Maybe you say when it was built.
When it was built. Yeah, I corrected myself before I said it. Anyway, but we didn't do the heating and cooling because they were in the windows. And at that time, in 88, I think they were 35 years old.
Oh, wow.
And so the company has been taking care of it for all this time. If they can't find the parts, and sometimes they can't, they have them manufactured. So, you know, and actually, they've actually done a decent job. And I know Tim has worked with them, and Tim's always kicking the boiler to keep it working. And I don't know how old the boilers are.
I'm not sure offhand.
They might be from the, 50s.
They're-
I mean,
Maybe at
yeah.
least. at least.
They have some issues that are starting to show up, and I've been told that we're gonna have to probably start looking soon.
So,
Well, we might use something that's not a boiler. Boilers won't be part of this, okay? We have an option, and we're not tied to any one person. If you got the best, you got our interest, okay? That's called variable flow refrigerant. I always get this wrong. What happens is these gas-fired heat pumps, all right, produce heat and air conditioning. And if it, not to get in the weeds too far, if it's a 3-pipe system, they can do it at the same time. So one of the problems you have over there is delivery, okay? It's a pain in the butt, Tim knows. I actually put that job in. I did the control work on it when I was with Honeywell. And I got out of there just as fast as I could. You can just tell, man, it was just like working like this. But anyway, what we can do is we can take that off your back. You haven't got to work with, boilers anymore. You don't have to work with a chiller anymore. That's one option. There's 2 or 3 more. We'll bring them to you, and we might go back to boilers. All right, if that's the best thing.
And we always had problems with the chiller every year, and I don't know that it ever really regulates well overall anyway.
I hear the no. I hear the no. Yeah. So we probably should have done something in '88, but we didn't.
Well,
Oh, gosh,
that's
and
right.
that's only 34 years ago.
Yeah, well, we're glad you did. Right?
Yeah.
So if you did, you may not be here today. But that's what we have to offer. Again, we have some good references, and personally, I'd love to work on this job. I would, because it's close to home, and it makes you feel also good to take an old piece of building, bring it up to speed, and make it look nice, and be able to work for the next 20, 30 years.
It's a beautiful building.
Yeah, it really is. I was born in the county. Yeah.
You think that's our main problem, is the heating and air conditioning?
No, sir, I do not.
Oh, you don't know that yet?
Well, no, I do know some things, okay? It depends how you break out heating and air conditioning. So I'm kind of a nut for temperature controls because I did it for a long time. You got a control problem, okay? The air stuff just goes where it goes, and that's the frustrating part. You can put in the greatest heating and cooling system, but if you can't deliver it to the zone, it's not a heck of a lot of good. All right, so with a variable flow refrigerant, there's various ways of delivering to the area. All right, you don't have to have this big, huge duct and all this kind of thing. You can put smaller systems in that will give you better control because you're not waiting for that air to get over here, okay? And you only have to run refrigerant lines, all sealed and all safe. Because at first I was like, no, I don't want that running around my building. But it's been around for 8 or 10 years, so it should be fine. So you have a problem with the source, and you have a problem with the delivery. You have both. And you have no fresh air, which we will solve.
Any other discussion at this time?
I just will add that I did call some of their references and they all had very glowing recommendations.
Okay. Very good.
It's good to hear.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
You bet.
With that, if there's no other discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries till tomorrow. Thank you. Item G, need a motion to approve the resolution asking the state land bank for a parcel 011-500-039-01 in Chi-Town Park.
Support.
There's a motion and a second. Brian, would you like to,
Just very briefly, I got this from the Parks Board, in a roundabout way through Phil, halfway?
Yeah.
Or wherever.
Yes, Tim.
Okay, through Phil. And there's a piece of property that is surrounded by our park that has gone back to the land bank that was part of a dam. And so we're asking the land bank, because it has no other usable purpose, to provide it to us. Now, next year and the years after, it'll be a completely different process for us to get properties like this to the county, because it'll be under control of the treasurer's office. But this one, we have to ask the state
It's
for.
on the old system. Okay. Any other discussion?
Is that gonna be quite a process or not necessarily?
It's a resolution and a letter,
Oh,
and you will approve the resolution. Phil already wrote the letter, I'll sign the letter, and then we will submit it to the state, I believe we have to pay $1.
okay, thanks.
Is that dollar budgeted?
No. Don't worry, I'll garnish it.
There goes our budget.
Yeah.
I'll garnish it.
We'll find it in the parks. Okay, any other discussion at this time? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Okay, we've come to the next call to the public. Do we have anyone that would like to speak at this time? If not, meeting adjourned. Thank you.